Good evening. My name is Richard Crean, and I'm Chair of the Permanent Public Building Committee. Welcome to the July 7th, 2025 meeting of the PBBC. Under Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, issued March 12th, 2020, and in effect until termination, meeting of public bodies may be conducted virtually, provided that adequate access is provided to the public. On March 28th, 2025, the remote meeting provision was extended through June 30th of 2027. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded via Zoom and will be uploaded to the town's YouTube channel for publication, later viewing, and administrative purposes. The following members will be participating remotely. Lynn Denninger, George Kent, we believe, will be joining us, Roy Schiavelletti, Erwin Silverstein, and I as chair. Because it is a Zoom meeting, all votes will be conducted by roll call and recorded as such in the minutes. We're going to defer action on the minutes for the time being until George Kent arrives, but in the meantime, we'll proceed to the Emery Grover project. And for that, I recognize Ken.
I get this one, Richard.
Great.
The only item of note as we continue to wade through some of the few punch list items that are left is the ongoing sound issue. We've engaged Lawrence Copley to help us wade through it. He's done a peer review on the work that Ascentech, the subconsultant to BHA, has done. He's put together a draft. We're in the process of adding to that and going through it. Had conversations back and forth with the architect and the Ascentech and the mechanical engineer. They're questioning now whether the mechanical engineer just this afternoon questioned whether there's an attenuator that will actually fit the ductwork. I believe Lawrence had researched it and received two different manufacturers that make them, so I'm not overly concerned with that. But next month, I hope we have waded through all this and we'll have a resolution. The first step is just to get the work done. We'll worry about what happened as a secondary issue, but right now we want to get it done in the most economic fashion, and that appears to be the plan that Lawrence has put together, but still needs sign off from the mechanical engineer in order to do that. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Ken, please keep us posted on that, and
Yep.
We'll follow closely. Thank you. All right. So anything else on Emery Grover before we move on, Ken?
No, sir.
Okay, very good. All right. With that, we can proceed to the next agenda item, which is the R2 replacement at Elliott and Broadmeadow. And Ken, recognize you for that.
We have an invoice tonight for Elliott. The only thing left on that is we're doing the quote unquote summer recommissioning, and that is going to be on Friday, Thursday, the 11th. What's the 11th? Whatever day. One day this week, we're going to recommission it, so to speak, under summer conditions, because we originally commissioned it under more fall-like conditions. And for Broadmeadow, they started in earnest a couple weeks ago. All the old units have been lifted off. A couple of curbs have been installed. One section of roof has been replaced. They're working on the other section, should have that section done tomorrow, and then hopefully work on the larger section where the 3 units are sitting this week. The rest of the curbs hope to be installed this week, and then the beginning of next week, I'm waiting to hear confirmation, but the beginning of next week, they will be planting the new units on the roof. The units have been pre-wired. E&E has been out and installed all their controls and wiring in the units while they've been in the rigger's yard. So that's going to save some on-site time, which was a little bit problematic when we did Elliott last year. So hopefully, that will, solve that problem. And, I think, Catherine, I can't remember, do we have a invoice from CAM?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
We have one from,
One from,
Enterprise and one from CAM.
yes, and then we have a change order for CAM, change order number
Correct.
4.
Yep. So we can move to those, Richard, unless
Okay.
anyone has any questions on the project.
Well, just one question about the recommissioning. I guess the weather conditions are going to be a little bit different from what we're experiencing right now on Thursday and Friday. Does that factor into?
No. No,
Sure.
you're just commissioning it with the AC. We can force,
I don't want to butt in, but we don't want to force, when we seasonally commission, we want conditions where we don't have to convince the unit of something to get it to do something else. We want the outside air conditions to do it, but again,
we can't predict that, Barry. So
no,
we've got it set
I
up
think-
for this week, and it's
I actually
gonna be
think we
summer.
can. I actually think we can with the conditions. That's what I was saying. I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna have to force it. So the idea is to do it under seasons when it's going to do what we want it to do during these temperatures and these humidity conditions. I think we're gonna be good to go, Ken, actually. So
yeah.
um,
Well, it's certainly different than a winter condition, so.
yes, I think we have a good enough conditions to do a good seasonal commissioning.
Okay,
Fair enough.
terrific. Okay. Just check to see if we have a quorum here. So we've got Lynn, Roy, Erwin, myself, Michael's here, and Ann. Okay, I think we're
And
okay.
then Barry DeLong, Barry
Barry.
and Ann
Oh.
are on this project.
Great. Okay, perfect. Barry's okay, terrific. All right, the first item then, if there are no other questions regarding the RTU project, we'll get right to the invoices and change order. First, there's a change order from CAM HVAC number 4 for ceiling tile work for the roof drains. The chair will move that the committee approve the change order as just read to you by the chair in the amount of $9,497.73, and that's charged to the architect's line item. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
thank you. Erwin,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, the next item are a pair of invoices. One is from CAM HVAC and Construction. The chair will move that the committee approve the requisition for payment from CAM HVAC and Construction for requisition number 3 through June 2023 at Broadmeadow in the amount of $738,742.79. And that's charged to the general contractor's line item. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, and we have one more invoice under this particular project area, and that is from Enterprise Equipment. That's requisition number 16 through June 2025, and that's for Elliott Services. The chair will move that the committee approve the requisition for payment as read to you by the chair in the amount of $78,826.86. That's $78,826.86. That's coming out of the general contractor's line item. And again, that's for Enterprise Equipment. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Roy. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Great, thank you. I think that's everything we have on Elliott and Broadmeadow RTU project. Is that correct, Ken?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay,
You're
terrific.
good.
Any other final comments before we move on to our next agenda item? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the library Phase 1 project, and I believe Hank, I'll recognize you.
Yeah, we have had a preliminary meeting with Tower Construction, the contractor who won that bid. And we'll have another meeting tomorrow with them. They won't start construction on site until September, right after Labor Day. But getting all of those preliminary pieces complete. And the UTEAL is now putting together a graphics package, which will include design for a large graphic panel behind the crafts area, on the wall behind the crafts area, as well as signage on the glass, signifying what the space is, the teen space. And then they're also putting together bid packages for the shelving and the surrounds to the shelving. Because that combined is likely to exceed 100,000, we have to get at least 3 bids from state contract. They are also beginning to put together the furniture purchases, and the majority of those will be off the state list. So we do not have to go out to bid for all of those. That furniture is scheduled to be delivered after the full completion of the project, which will be in February, mid-February of 2026. So Tower Construction, I think, after our first meeting, they seem good. We've had good recommendations, and they seem to be digging into it. We will also be getting a quote off the state bid list for the security, the key card access into the teen area. And if we have the budget, we would connect that new system with the key card access to the service door, which is the only other door in the building that has key card access. And we are working through logistics with town staff and putting together FAQs, both for town staff and for the public. We're generally alerted as to the future project, but not everybody listens.
And a couple of things we're hoping to accomplish during the meeting tomorrow is to either get updates on their more detailed schedule, which right now calls for, as Hank said, starting right after Labor Day, going into February, and also their schedule of values, their logistics plan. I've already walked a few of the subcontractors through, including the demolition contractor. So we should be in good shape with them to get started right after Labor Day.
Excellent.
And Ken, you've been talking to the library, to the church about being able to put a dumpster in the upper lot.
After tomorrow's meeting, I will. I just want to confirm their logistics before I do that.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments for Hank or Ken during this project? Okay. All right. Well, hearing none, we can proceed to the one invoice we have for the library project. And by the way, I'd like to welcome Rob to the PBC. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Everybody.
Okay, so the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from UTEAL Incorporated for May 2025 services. That's in the amount of $4,984.50 coming out of the architect's line item. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Erwin. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and then Rob.
Aye.
And is Rob McLean on? No, it's not. Okay,
No, I don't see.
okay. So we have, is it 1, 2?
And chair.
Yeah, and the chair votes aye, so we're okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I want to double check, make sure we had a quorum there for that. Okay, terrific. Any other questions or comments regarding the library project before we move on?
Quick question, since this is my first meeting, should
Yes,
I
sir.
stay on for the remainder of the agenda items, or am I good to drop after the library?
Whatever your pleasure.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure I wouldn't ruin the quorum or anything for
We
you.
won't be offended if you drop off, so don't worry about it.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Appreciate your joining us.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, if there are no other comments regarding the library project, we'll move on into the Pollard School renovation project. And for that, I guess we'll recognize Hank and Merrill, is that correct?
Yes, and we also have Tina and Matt
Oh,
who are
okay.
joining us
Welcome.
from HMFH. You all met at one of our last meetings.
Mhm.
And as Merrill will go through our busy schedule for this summer, we will probably be coming back to the PBBC for every meeting this summer in order to keep you apprised of the progress and to at the end of the summer on September 2nd, vote the submission of the PDP prior to submitting it to the MSBA on the 3rd of September. So the design team has a busy schedule and the PBBC has a busy schedule. And in addition to that, Merrill will walk you through all the other meetings.
And I think we would also, as we're talking through the meetings, we should think about which of the upcoming PBC meetings should be in person based upon what you're outlining.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great question.
Okay.
All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. And so welcome everyone. Thank you for talking about this project. We're over the moon thrilled. So essentially we have been, as Hank said, very busy and especially since HMFH came on board. So really engaging Tina and Matt and their team, and they're really off and running. So here we are. This is essentially where we were. So this is May and June. So on the 19th we met, and it was the eve of hiring the architects. So Architect Eve, if you will, and essentially HMFH joined us in our team on May 20th. Since then, we have had multiple meetings. We've had essentially 3 visioning sessions, which had great attendance with micro and macro groups. Some were just NPS group folks, and we had one that was a lot larger that had 45 different people from the district, from the community, students, teachers, educators, different committees around that are affiliated with the school. And we had smaller meetings as well to kind of get to the heart of what this project is really all about. So here we are, July, somehow that happened, not quite sure how, but what we're doing now is really focusing on community outreach. So we have met, Hank and I have already met with Mariah and Dan, and we are forming a website that's going to have everything anyone ever wants to know about this project and some. It's also going to be an opportunity for folks to reach out to us and give us their input and feedback. So you also may have heard that on this coming Wednesday, we have 2 community sessions. And what that's going to be is where we are, what we know at this point, and what we're considering. So we really want to engage the community here. So we have a session in the morning at 10 o'clock, and then another session at 6:30. And this is going to be held in the Pollard Auditorium.
And Meryl, the same content for each session, is that correct?
Correct. It was more to broaden the availability for folks who may be working during the day, have kids putting to bed or having dinner, activities. It's summertime after all. So we'll take what we can get. And so having 2 sessions is really the key here. So we're going to be presenting along with HMFH. And let me pause for a moment because everyone here is invited and we wanted to see as PVBC members if anyone is available to join us at either session. And that
Yes,
would join us on the stage. Yep.
Yeah, I've committed to the evening session.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Great. We'll have a chair for you on the stage to to join us.
And Lynn
Lynn,
is,
yeah.
raising her hand.
Also the evening session.
Beautiful.
I'll be at both
Awesome.
sessions, Elisa.
Great. That's great. Really good turnout. Okay. Wonderful. So any questions about that we can address at this point? All right. We've been posting around town, so hopefully everyone in town knows about it and will show up. That's our goal. It's also going to be on Zoom as well. So there's that component to make things easier for some. So that's July. As far as the design process, I won't take the thunder away from HMFH, but essentially they're digging into the educational program, what we're considering, finalizing educational goals with all of our discussions that we've been having with the district, and working on early options. So any questions about what's happening in July? No, going once, going twice.
Meryl, do you know when
Yeah.
the website will go live?
We're going gangbuster. Myself and Mariah have been really working on it. We have a platform now, so at least a site that we can start compiling. We've been doing FAQs. We've been getting the content together before it goes live. The goal is to have it mid-August to be live. So there may be maybe an early launch of a place for people to comment only. And then we would respond, and Mariah and I are working through that together with Dan overseeing us and Hank as well.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So August is around the corner. We're going to have our our PVBC meeting August 4th. And essentially on the 18th is when we'll have design options. So fast forwarding to the end of August, that's basically when HMFH is pulling their report together, putting a bow around it. So there's going to be iterations with everybody here to keep everyone abreast of what's going on. Moving on, September is when we submit the PDP, the preliminary design report, and transition into the next phase of feasibility, which is the PSR, so preferred schematic report. And essentially, we'll be working through that. So right now, it's all options on the table still, so nothing's been taken off the table at this point.
And
We're targeting another community session on September 10th. Did I hear somebody?
yes, and
Yeah.
Elisa, the PDP, the educational program
Mhm.
needs to be approved by the school committee. And they like a formal vote, and we need to account for the vote. And
Okay.
likewise, on the 2nd, when we do the vote for the PVBC, we'll have a roll call vote, and we'll probably want to have that meeting in person. It is the day right after Labor Day. But so it is on a Tuesday, not on a Monday.
And Hank, when does the school committee need to vote that? What's the deadline for that?
Ideally late August, but we had talked about the option of having a joint meeting on the 2nd.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have a current meeting on the 2nd, but Tuesdays are your usual evenings.
They are,
We'll discuss
That's
that
all.
further
Yeah.
with,
Okay.
with
Perfect.
Dan
Perfect.
as he puts those agendas together.
Great.
So here you can see the PDP report is being submitted to the MSBA, and then we move into PSR. And then we're going to continue with the design review and discuss DBB versus CMR in September. And the idea of that is to have a better sense of the complications of the building. So to determine the procurement method.
If I may ask, Meryl, in light of
Sure.
the comment that was made at the last meeting about the length of time that it takes to get a CMR on board, does that
Mhm.
timetable work based upon kind of the broader timetable of the project?
Yeah, so essentially we'll put it out an advertisement for the CMR. So we're pulling that together behind the scenes right now,
Mhm.
and essentially having them on board depending on which way we're going,
Right. Yeah.
be it CMR or DBB, towards September, October, November, we'll have a better sense.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
and our first step is to get approval from the Attorney General's office to be able to do the CMR before we advertise. And that takes a minimum of 30 days, I think.
Mhm.
Right, so here we are, the leaves are falling off the trees already somehow. And so October through the December, again, continuing on with the preferred schematic report. There's 3 options that are brought forward at least. And again, further defining the massing, the location, and all the elements of the project. And the idea is to submit the PSR mid-December. So a similar process where there'll be a vote by everybody here and approval to submit it to the MSBA.
And again, we will need to coordinate approvals with the school committee as well.
Yeah. And then, of course, the MSBA website for anyone who's watching who wants to learn more. And again, the Needham School Master Plan, which is really critical as part of a lot of these decisions that are coming in front of us. So that's all I have. Are there any questions about what we're up to?
Very well laid out. Thank you very much for that. And
Sure.
very clear.
Mhm.
And now we'll let Tina and or Matt share their screen and walk us through another set of slides.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Good evening. Thanks for having us here. I'm going to share my screen. Get this to work. You all see that?
Looks
Great.
good.
All right. So this slide talks about what we know to date. We know that the MSBA reimbursement for this project is going to be between 20 and 30%. That will be averaged once we decide which option we're going for and how much of the building is reimbursable in MSBA terms. So we won't know that for a little bit. The school will be designed for either grades 6 through 8 for 1,335 students or grades 7 through 8 in 880 students. And those numbers were given to us from the MSBA. So those are the populations that we're designing for. We know that the school design has to meet the school's educational plan. And you heard Meryl talking about the visioning sessions that we've had. And the educational plan had a draft before those visioning sessions. So that'll get tweaked from what we learned in those sessions. And then it'll continue to get tweaked all the way through this phase and into the next. Because when we submit it to the MSBA for this phase, they're going to review it and give us comments and suggestions. So it's a work in progress for a little bit of time until the end of the year. We know that this project will be a minimum of LEED Silver, and that's because MSBA requires that as part of the funding for the project. Most of the HMFH buildings that we design are LEED Gold, just using our standard design. So we're not concerned about this at all. We also know that we might be able to get additional funding through MSBA if we are able to meet some of the different portions of LEED that have to do with material credits and putting healthy materials into the project. And we've successfully done this on all of our projects, so we should be able to get an additional percentage point of reimbursement for this project.
And if I may, I think I see a question from Erwin, if I may.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. My question has to do with the second bullet, because I know in the past, the projections for design by MSBA have not exactly aligned with the reality when the school was coming online. Do we know if the 1335 and the 880 are consistent with what the school department is projecting for enrollment?
I have not heard any pushback, but Hank, go ahead.
Yeah, as we got into the early stages with the MSBA, there was a lot of back and forth. The McKibben report was the basis for coming up with these numbers. What McKibben was showing was that there has been, in fact, a decrease in population over the last post-COVID era, during COVID and post-COVID. It hasn't quite recuperated to pre-COVID levels as of yet. And the McKibben report did project potential growth. And there was back and forth with the MSBA once the MBTA zoning overlay was first approved, and the school department was looking at those numbers, and I think that they felt that if we had appropriately sized spaces throughout the entire school, i.e. 900 square feet for every classroom, that we could accommodate within the new school population growth by increasing the number of students in each class, say from 21 to 22. Because there are, what, five sections in each grade level. And so they were comfortable. We had initially asked for more. I don't know if Anne is still on and can offer something, but it was part of the sign off that the school department and the town did during eligibility.
If you can meet between, it's 430 to 440, which is pretty much at the upper end of any cohorts we've seen recently or would expect to see. So with the flexibility that Hank just described, we should be in pretty good shape. This isn't like Sunita Williams, where they were way under and we had to beat them up unmercifully to just tell them how many people we knew we were getting. I think we're in better shape this time around.
Good. I just remember the past experiences, and I don't want us to be in a similar situation again.
Yeah, that was not pleasant. And, you know, Anne had to bring all our numbers because they didn't believe us. And, you know, they wanted to build a school smaller than we had at Hillside, which was insane. And we, you know, but that took a lot of work, and we still did a little fudging of, oh yeah, we can put things into classrooms. And we did make it. But as you know, Sunita Williams is not an empty building. It's pretty full.
Another question, or go ahead, Hank. Sorry.
So I think that was agreed upon. In the high school, for instance, the majority of those classrooms from the 2004 to 2008 timeframe were just over 700 square feet. Majority of the classrooms in Pollard today are 700, but the base size for a standard classroom in any new MSBA building is 900 square feet. So that increase in size is very helpful. And all of the science classrooms have to be 1,400, 1,440 maybe, in terms of square footage. And I should also mention that the educational program will have a very robust special ed component to it, fully meeting the district's needs.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay, Tina, back to you.
Great, thanks. Just to add to what Hank was saying, because the middle school is going to be set up in teams, you know, five teams per grade level, that inherently is going to build in a little bit of expansion for all of you because you'll be able to add more kids to each of those teams. So you're inevitably going to get a few extra classrooms out of that model that we're putting in here. So you have a little wiggle room. Okay. Let's see, back to the LEED Silver. So I was saying that we should be able to get an additional reimbursement percentage for putting in healthy materials. And then we will be meeting the specialized stretch energy code because you are a green community. And so with that, we will also get additional reimbursement. So hopefully we'll be able to up the numbers, you know, from the lower end towards 30%. We know that the special town meeting vote needs to happen in October, and the override vote for the project to continue will happen in November, both of next year. Some of the options on the table, there's going to be multiple design options studied in this PDP phase. They're going to include a code upgrade repair of Pollard to remain exactly as it is educationally, but to fix all of the issues with it and bring it up to all the different codes. That is done as sort of a baseline number for you and the community to understand what the building needs just today, not to fix it educationally. And usually that number is somewhere close to what, you know, the new project is going to cost you. So MSBA will not reimburse you if you decide that that's what you want to do for Pollard, because it doesn't meet the district's educational plan. The educational plan talks about all the things that need to happen in a new or renovated building, but they require this as part of the submission. We'll also be studying addition renovation options for the 7-8 grade configuration, as well as the 6-8 configuration. And then we are going to be looking at 2 different sites, the Pollard site for new construction, and that will be 7-8 and 6-8. And then also the DeFazio Field site, which you see at number 2 here on my plan. And that will also be looked at for grade 7 and 8, as well as grade 6-8. So lots of options will be estimated at this point. Any questions on that? Nope. Other things we're thinking about, you know, what spaces should be included in the new building or should be larger than what MSBA regulations say in the new building. One of the things that everybody's been talking about is the theater auditorium. In a middle school program, MSBA doesn't reimburse for an auditorium or theater space. So this would be completely at the cost of the community. And then how big will that theater be? That has to be determined. We've heard the number 1,000 seats, all the way down to, you know, we don't know yet. And so I think the cost estimates will look at multiple seating capacities so people can make a decision. Currently, the existing school has 2 gymnasiums, a little under 6,000 feet each. MSBA only gives you 1 gymnasium of 6,000 square feet in a new building. So does the community want to have a full-size gym like you would get at a high school? Or do we want to renovate the 2 gyms that are there because it's more space than what MSBA will give you? Other things, how many art rooms are we going to have? The existing Pollard has 3 as it is. With the addition of High Rock students in the 6th grade, we add an art room to the program. MSBA gives you 3 art rooms. So similar for music spaces and other enrichment spaces. And this is an ongoing dialogue that started in visioning sessions, and we've been sort of crafting the space summary around this. One thing that I know the school principals are working on, Tamitha and Jessica, is creating a schedule for this new school that would be a 6-8. And what does that look like? And that should show us utilization, you know, how many spaces are needed for PE class. Does it show that 4 spaces are needed? And those kind of things MSBA will use to sort of justify our asking for these programs. So that's in process right now, and it will take us right through August to figure out all of that good information to share with you folks. Any questions? So since we last met, you heard Meryl say we've done the visioning sessions. We've talked specifically about special education and all the nuances of bringing High Rock together with Pollard and what that looks like from a special ed perspective. We want to make sure we get all those spaces correct. We will send out our plans and our list of spaces to DESE at the end of this phase to have them sort of bless what we're asking for. We also had the community forum that Meryl talked about, and that was sort of looking at big picture. What do these students need in this new program from an educational perspective? What does the day in the life of a Pollard student look like? It was very interesting with students there and educators. The students were fantastic. So we were really excited to hear from them. And then we met as a smaller group, the advisory group of about 14 people, and really dialed in on, what are those programs that are needed, and all the way down to what are the adjacencies for that new building? What does that need to look like? So in our next time that we meet with you all, we're hoping to have draft educational goals to share with you, and also kind of an outline. It'll be a bubble diagram, not quite a building yet, of where all those program pieces fit in this new building. We will also have the space summary that we can share with you. We'll send that in advance because it's a big spreadsheet with lots of lines that you'll need to look at, not on my screen. And we've also walked the site with our landscape and civil consultants on a very hot day last week. So we took a great look at everything. And the DeFazio field site is very interesting. So we'll start test fitting that right away. Any questions on that?
Tina, just curious, when you say interesting, how do you mean?
I guess I was surprised at how big it was compared to the sort of lower area at Pollard, that's open for a new option on it. It feels bigger. There's wetlands on the DeFazio field site that we don't have exactly surveyed yet, so we'll need to see where those are and what the setbacks are from those to really understand how much buildable area we have. The civil engineers are looking at that now. So
Richard, one of the things that we also reflected on is that if it were to be built on DeFazio Field, the students could stay put in the existing building. So that would make phasing a whole lot easier, the schedule a whole lot quicker. So that's another consideration that we were like, maybe. So just opening up different options right now is kind of, everything's again on the table at this point until some exploratory work is done.
correct. Yeah, but it was exciting to see that. Just to give you kind of a graphic version of the schedule, we're here. You can see how tiny PDP is. We've got a lot to get done in this first section before we submit on the 2nd of September and move into the PSR here. And then just a little more detail on what we're undertaking in the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow we have another site visit with all of the other engineers, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, theater consultant. We'll all be walking through the building and checking that out for existing conditions to do that code repair option and also the renovation addition option. We have some ideas in mind for that already, and we want to see what those would look like. We do have the community listening session on the 9th, and that we're hoping to really listen and hear what the community wants from this new building, is nervous about with this project, all of the above. So hopefully it's less of us talking and more of the community talking. We also have an MSBA kickoff meeting on the 10th. So we'll be meeting with our team there and going over our schedule for the project, and they'll be sort of giving us their guidelines. We also have a meeting with the town sustainability manager on the 11th. So that will be sort of a kickoff meeting with her, and we'll sort of lay out our plan for sustainability workshops with all of you and how we're going to, talk about how this building is going to be green and all the details for that. And then we have the school committee meeting the following week, and then the advisory group meeting the following week. And the advisory group meeting is going to be really important because we hope to finalize the educational goals, refine the ed plan, refine the space summary, and start thinking about the options. Any questions? lots of work to do.
So I would say this is a similar presentation of what we're thinking for Wednesday for the community. So what we know and what we're considering. So it kind of lays out on the table, you know, the basics of where we're at right now. And as Tina said, I think it's great that we're really going to hopefully hear as much as we can from everyone's input, concerns, worries, dreams, aspirations. But I guess I want to take a pulse of the room. How does that feel for the community? Does this seem like a good approach as far as putting information out there of where we're at today?
I think it does. I think it's very important to note what needs to be explored, and I think that presentation effectively does that. That there are a lot of unknowns that have to be worked through, and that we're at the nascent stages of this project. So, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Any other comments on the? Erwin.
Yeah, the important thing is to make the community feel that they're being listened to and they're being involved. So the more of these you do, keeping them informed every step in the way, nobody likes surprises. I think it'll serve everyone very well.
Yeah. Elisa?
I think I think it would be important to include a couple of pieces of information. One, I think putting this project in context with both Sunita Williams and with other middle schools. You know, when you start to look at this in terms of per square footage and, you know, per student, it's right in line. I think a lot of people, you know, I've seen things floating around like, well, you know, such and such's middle school was under $100 million. Why is this one $300 million? It's like, well, because it's for 3 times the number of students. And I think people get really focused on that exact dollar, and not that we're even at the point of estimating dollars, but just I think putting this project in context with some of the other projects that are out there will be helpful. I also, and I know I've talked about this in the past, just the harkening back to the master plan work that was done, that you know, we're not talking about like just 7th and 8th, for example, in isolation. And while that, I mean, obviously a building for 2 grades is going to be cheaper than a building for 3 grades, but it has this knock-on effect that means that we'll have to go and expand High Rock, and we'll have to build a temporary school when we redo Mitchell, which again is not an optional project. Like that that building has to be done. And so, you know, one of the beauties of doing Pollard as 6-8, to me, one of the really important outcomes of that is that we don't ever have to build temporary space for Mitchell. Personally, I just think temporary space is like, you know, lighting dollars on fire and throwing them out the window. You know, you spend all this money, and it's not insignificant. And I think sharing that number with the community of doing this bigger project now, one, gets us reimbursement from the MSBA because it's on a percentage basis. So there's, you know, kind of more dollars that would be reimbursed to us. And 2, allows us to avoid both a possible High Rock expansion and a temporary school while Mitchell's redone. And I just don't want people to lose sight of those costs, which again would be escalated because they're down the road. I think there's still people that are really struggling with this really, you know, what I think is going to be a big number for a 1,300 student school. And I think it's good to acknowledge that, but to give people some context and to give people some really good fodder for why it's fiscally responsible to spend this money now as opposed to short-sighted money later.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elisa. Michael?
So yeah, all of that Elisa just said, the master plan specifically though, just to remind people, We have been thinking about this and planning for this since before we did Sunita Williams. We didn't just come up with this idea. Elisa said it, but it's got, people have to see that there is a school master plan been in place for a long time that led to this. And I think it's very important that it be in the conversations you have with people. The other thing is just, let's be honest, you're doing a great job to get everybody, but this is summertime. And even if it weren't summertime, you're still going to have lots of people saying, what are you going to do? When? How much? How much? You can't avoid that. So I think you've done a really nice job, but do bear in mind, when it comes to summer here in Needham, once you hit July 4th, there are people who aren't seen again until September. And if anything that happens between June 30th and September in Needham might not as well have happened from their point of view. So just, just something to be aware of, that despite Dan and all the great work that he's doing, and you're going to get the word out about these meetings, there are a lot of people who have tuned out. And again, there's nothing necessarily you can do about it, but just to remind you, no matter how good you think, how great a job you think you've done, there's always going to be lots of people who have no clue what just happened. And we just have to deal with that. We always do, and we always have.
We're practicing for the fall, back to school. We'll come through like gangbusters.
We're also, Merrill is researching, putting together like a 5-minute video that describes where we are, what the MSBA process is, and we could certainly integrate some of that history into that video, so that I would hope we'd have that by the end of the summer as well, to so people who haven't been to the meetings can click on that video and see a short clip about that.
It's a great idea. Thank you, Hank and Merrill.
Merrill, I'd also recommend too that if I don't know whether you've heard whether they're coming or not, but if the Needham Observer could send someone to cover the meeting, that would be terrific. I would highly recommend that. Again, just another resource. We don't have a paper newspaper anymore, sadly, like a lot of towns, but we do have an electronic newspaper that a lot of community members do subscribe to.
We have to.
Any other questions or comments about the Power Project before the upcoming committee meetings? Okay, hearing none, I guess we can proceed then to the invoices for Pollard. We have 3 invoices. The first is from HMFH Architects, and the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice for payment from HMFH Architects for June 2025 services in the amount of $92,857.14, and that's coming out of the architect's line item. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Irwin?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
Tamitha?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. And we have 2 invoices from Lyro Hill. The chair will move that the committee approve the following invoices for payment from Lyro Hill. The first is for April 2025 services in the amount of $8,301. That's $8,301 out of the miscellaneous line item. And the second is for May 2025 services in the amount of $2,305 out of the miscellaneous line item, for an aggregate of $10,606 even, again, out of the miscellaneous budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Irwin. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to.
Richard?
Yes, go ahead. Irwin, sorry.
Can you just explain, when you say miscellaneous, what
Yeah.
exactly was the $10,000 for?
Well, maybe Hank or
Yeah.
would you like to comment?
Lyro Hill, we have as a project management consultant.
Mhm.
So similar to what Dedalus did in the Sunita project, They assisted extensively with assembling the information on the designer selection, a lot of the references, so on and so forth. So we offload a variety of tasks to them, and as we move forward on the project, they not only comment on the submissions, but they'll be supplying cost estimating with AM Fogarty to supplement our services. So it might be more appropriate to say those are OPM services.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Erwin. Any other comments or questions before we get to the turn to the vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
Tamitha?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. And I think that is it for the Pollard invoices. Any final comments or questions before we move on to our next agenda item? Actually, I just have one, so Meryl, just to confirm, on Wednesday night, actually Wednesday and Wednesday night, those are both in the Pollard Auditorium, I take it, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, terrific. And would you like us to be there a few minutes early, those of us who are gonna be seated? Okay.
Please, if you don't mind. Yes, yes.
And bring
15 minutes.
a fan.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It'll be
Terrific.
toasty.
Yep.
That's the point.
Okay. Very good. Well, we'll see you then. Looking forward to it.
Great,
So thank you,
thanks.
Tina and Mark. Matt, thank you both very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
And thank you to our user representatives as well. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you. Have a good night.
Night. Okay, next is we'll proceed on to the DPW and the fleet maintenance project. And for that, is it Ken?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let me share my screen here. We went through the reconciliation for the 80% CD drawings. And we did that last week and came up with, here we go. I had sent this out last week. So I'm sure you've all had a chance to look at it. But if not, here it is again. And the total construction costs came in the reconciled amount was $16,367,704. And then you can see the alternates down below for the new building to put a solar, the existing building to put solar, the level 3 EV charging at the canopy, and then number 4 is the replacing the HVAC in the existing garage, and that came in a little over $1 million. So not in our future. Now, if I jump over to, oops, come on now. I want to show the budget here. My computer is not playing nice tonight. So by plugging in those numbers, and I put them in the no, that's not the right one. I guess, oh, that's the library. I'm sorry. Here's my DPW. Come on. There we go. So I put the alternates in the the ACL log, but you can see by plugging in the estimate, the 16,367, we end up with a contingency of a little over 2.8 million. If we would do all of the alternates, that would only leave us with 344,000, which is not something we're prepared to do. But it looks like we'll be able to at least accept the first alternate, assuming these numbers come in as is, for the solar on the new roof. And then as we continue through the project, if things look well enough, we may be able to do a change order for solar on the old building. So that in a nutshell is where we are and what we've got. Let me go back to the previous. And put the estimate back up again, or the reconciled, I guess I should say. So we can kind of you can just kind of see where we are and what we've got. They came in very close right from the get-go. They were within a couple 100,000 of each other right from the get-go. The biggest differences were in these below the construction line items. The estimators use different percentages, and you can see even here the difference between the two firms on the contingency and escalations and overhead and profit, etc. So we're continuing to move along with changes to the 80%, but we're in pretty good shape with that. We hope to get the package out in August and get the bids into September. We've got one more meeting this week for the electrical subcontractors and the general contractors for pre-qualification, and have a good group. We hope we get a lot of bidders, so hopefully we'll be able to get some good pricing on this and go from there. So I'll entertain any question. Erwin, I see your hand.
Erwin. Erwin.
I think, is that up from the last time, Erwin? You got a question.
I'm getting the hang of it. I'm just looking at the proposed budget for construction. And am I correct? The last column is supposed to be the average of the two previous columns?
Yes. Yes.
So maybe it's the 114,000, but the 16,402 and the 16,447, the average of that cannot be 16,367.
No, well, you see, there's one of
roof?
and I don't know who it was. A.M. Fogarty has this line for industrial equipment.
Yeah, is that the one?
Which is in I don't know, I think it's the equipment line. I can't remember where they put it. Maybe it's in the special construction line for the other one. But that's what makes the difference. So if you look at 16,402 and 16,332,
okay,
that averages the 16,367.
Okay.
And then if you add the 114 to the other, but Fogarty carried it, the other TCI didn't. So yeah, so there's a little glitch there, but it's the 16,367 is the number we're focusing on, because we have a separate line for equipment.
Okay.
Again, it might be premature to ask us about the bid alternates, but as I look at bifurcating the photovoltaic as between the new system, new roof, or new building, new addition, I should say, and then the existing, how would that work? Let's assume that things play out well and we decide we can go with number one, and maybe we can go with number two, but at a later time. Does that, if we're going down the path of number one, does that complicate number two? Maybe you can talk about the interplay or address the interplay.
No, it would be designed to, I don't want to say plug and play necessarily, but the second on the existing building, they'd be able to that's already been, I don't want to say pre-wired, but the infrastructure's there on the existing Cogswell building. So it'd just be a matter of tying into the and they'd put the ability, we probably have to add another meter, so we'd end up with multiple meters, which Eversource probably wouldn't be real happy with, but that's that's the reality of it.
So it can't be done without, and then we're.
Correct. Yeah, we're not.
Bottom line.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like we're pulling out something that we put in just to accommodate number two.
Yep. Right.
Yeah, and in either case, we would need to go back and get Eversource approval. They would need to look at the grid, see if it can accommodate this, and they're coming up with the new guidelines for smart payments. And then the recent federal legislation, we are still looking for clarity on that. And Gabby Queenan was recommending to me today that we hire a tax accountant to assist us in looking at what the potential rebates are. From our initial read and from an email advisory that I get from an accountant, it appears as though the geothermal rebates will remain available. And if through, as long as we get this building in the ground starting next year, I think we have until 2027 to complete that, and we might get those same direct payments through federal tax monies for the solar, but the solar would have to be operational, I think by mid-year, by June of 2027. But that's where an accountant would be able to assist us on this. And then Gabby was also pointing out that there's potential Green Communities grant funding of up to $1 million for solar. And so even if we can't afford it in the initial bid, once we get those grants, we may be able to do as a separate bid at a later time. And all of that was anticipated in the warrant article, so that we could then spend grant funds to install that second round. I should note that line 13, which says special construction, that's the anticipated steel building cost. So it's one of the bigger numbers on the list, but not quite as big as the earthwork number. And last time, Erwin, I think you asked, or George asked about tariffs, and the two different estimators had different opinions and expressed that in the escalation to bid number, thinking that would be sufficient to cover any additional tariffs that we would be coming out. And if the contractors are able to source their steel from the US, then obviously they wouldn't be confronted with those tariffs. But we were debating as to whether we would make that a requirement within the specification. And I think the cost estimators were saying probably that doesn't help you, because ultimately you can't dictate where the contractors will get their steel from.
Great. Thank you, Hank. Any other comments, Ken or Hank, regarding this project?
Nope. No, sir.
Okay, very good. And we don't have any invoices with respect to this project either. Is that correct?
No, we do not.
Okay, terrific. All right, very good. At this point, then we can move on, if there are no further questions or comments, to PBC other business, new business. And we're just about, we were running way ahead, and now we're just about on time. So we're very good. We like that. I wanted to, first of all, just in terms of miscellaneous items, I wanted to note that several members and staff were able to attend the Kate Fitzpatrick reception on last Thursday, and it was a tremendous, really, a really very, very wonderful tribute to Kate. That was on the last weekend week in June, I should say, and I wanted to note too that the uh, Building Design and Construction Department and the PVC jointly presented Kate with a watercolor of Town Hall, and that was beautifully done by our artist in residence, Hank Haff. So Hank, I want to thank you very much for doing that for both entities, and I hope that Kate enjoys it. I think I'm sure she will. I don't know if you've heard from Kate yet, but I'm sure in due course we will. And so, Hank, any comments?
She did send out over the weekend, or maybe it was on Friday, a thank you to everyone. And clearly she has something lined up to do next. She's going to be the Northeast Regional Rep for the ICMA. So she won't have a lot of spare time on her hands, but hopefully she'll take a breather.
But we didn't get to unwrap the gift before because it was a very tight agenda with a lot of speakers, of course. But anyway, it's a framed watercolor, and really I saw the photo of it and it looked terrific. So thank you very much, Hank, for doing that. And again, I like to joke that we always learn new things about our colleagues in town government, and this is a dimension of Hank that I did not. I wasn't aware of, so it's good to know for future reference. So thank you again. I did also, I just want to note also too that I'm looking forward to the new era with dawn of a new era with Katie King. A chance to greet her at the Kate Fitzpatrick event and also at the 4th of July parade. So I'm looking forward to working with her, and I think it's going to be really a wonderful partnership going forward. I did want to also kind of revisit the next few meetings for identification of meetings that we would want to have in person. We've already identified, I think Hank, you mentioned 9/2, September 2nd. As
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other meetings that in July? Well, there will be the 21st in July, and then there are 2 meetings in August. 4th and the 18th.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We could do them all. Nora, what do you think?
yeah. So
Yeah, I'm game.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with that too, and I know Roy, your preference is in person, so that's also good. Lynn, you're okay with in person as well? Erwin, same thing, same question. Okay, great.
I am.
Okay, terrific. Okay, so why don't we then plan on the next few meetings to be through September 2nd to be in person, and I know Catherine, you've got those got rooms booked already, I think, for those dates, correct?
Yes, I
So-
do.
Great. Okay, terrific. And generally speaking, are they at PSAB or?
I think I know I had to get a few at the town hall, but most of them are at PSAB. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
remember right now which ones
Okay.
are where.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So most of PSAB and Summit Town Hall, that's fine.
And we can use Emery Grover
Yep.
school committee room.
I would highly recommend that. Perhaps one of the meetings this fall we could kind of target for Emery Grover. That would be
Yeah.
terrific.
And if we have a joint meeting with school committee, we might want to be in the larger room at Emery Grover.
Yes.
And their meetings are also televised. So there are other logistics, whether it's well, I guess they can televise also from the Charles River room.
And Lisa and Michael, you good with that, those plans as well, in terms of, in-person meetings, for the next several meetings going into, through September 2nd, and then perhaps an Emery Grover meeting, on that date or in the early fall? Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm out of town on the 4th and happy to Zoom in. I assume there will be an option to do that, even if everyone else is in person.
Yes.
And then I did look really quickly at the school committee calendar. Although, can I find it again is the big question. Anyhow, we have kind of a gap between, we have a meeting, I want to say August 20th.
Is that our offsite or is that?
That's, yeah, it's right after our offsite, so it'll be like a midday meeting
Yeah.
on the 20th. And then we're really not scheduled again until mid-September. So
Right.
I think doing something on the 2nd is, in conjunction with the PPPC makes a ton of sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
You can talk to Dan about that tomorrow when you meet with him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right. So we will plan accordingly, and then that takes us through September 2nd, and then we'll discuss at a later meeting the balance of the year in terms of how we want to handle the in-person versus hybrid. Hank, anything on your end in terms of new other business, or any committee member questions or comments regarding new business?
I also send out the master calendar, just an update. I think we've discussed a lot of it. And the one aspect that will evolve, I suspect will evolve, are the future phases of DPW, and some of the other projects, and whether they will proceed or need to be delayed due to ongoing funding.
Right. Very good. Anything else? Anyone? Okay, hearing none, we can then proceed to our motion to adjourn. Is there?
Richard, do you want to vote the approval of minutes? I think you have 4. One.
Yeah, I guess we can certainly, thank you for reminding me of that. You can do that, sure. It's actually not a vote, but it's actually just a notation that the chair has not received any comments with respect to the minutes of June 9th, the June 9th meeting. I'll ask those who are present if they have any any comments they'd like to make with respect to the minutes as presented. Okay, hearing none, we'll deem the minutes to have been approved by the committee, and they will be filed accordingly. So thank you very much for reminding me of that. And then that brings us now to the motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Erwin. Is there a second?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Roy. A discussion on the motion? Okay, didn't think so. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Lynn?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you very much. We stand adjourned. So thank you very much, and we'll see. Hopefully, see you all on, or some of you at least on the 9th. So thank you very much. Take care now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.
Yeah. Right.